We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Zayin Amud Aleph and Meseches Nedarim. This is Nedarim Daf 77a. The Gemara says, Tanan Hasam, we learned in a Mishnah over there. This is in Meseches Shabbos. Meifirin Nedarim b'Shabbos. You're allowed to be Meifir Nedarim on Shabbos. You can annul vows on Shabbos. V'nishalin l'Nedarim. And you're also allowed to ask a Chacham to undo a vow. Shehein l'tzorech HaShabbos. If it is necessary for Shabbos, meaning if the vow is preventing you from doing something that needs to be done for the sake of Shabbos, you can ask a Chacham to undo that vow on Shabbos. And the Gemara says, they had the following question. Meifirin Nedarim b'Shabbos. When we say in the first part of the Mishnah that we can annul the vows on Shabbos, that's referring to a father annulling the vows of his daughter, or a husband of annulling the vows of his wife. So is that also Litzorech HaShabbos? Is that also only if there is a Shabbos need? Or maybe afilu shelo Litzorech. Maybe when it comes to Hafara, maybe that's different than Hatara. When it comes to Hafara, even if there's no Tzorech at all, there's no need for Shabbos at all, still you're allowed to be Mefer. And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here the following proof. The Tani Rev Zuti Devei Rev Papi, because Rev Zuti taught in the yeshiva of Rev Papi, Ein Mefir Nedarim, Elo Litzorech HaShabbos. You're not allowed to annul vows only if it is for the sake of Shabbos. So you see that when it comes to Hafara as well, you need to have a Tzorech Shabbos. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rav Ashi says, Halo Tanan Hachi, but that's not what it says in our Mishnah. Because what does it say in our Mishnah? It says, Nadra im chashecha. Let's say she makes a neder and it is getting dark, so meaning it's already getting close to the end of Shabbos. So mefer lo ad shelo techshach. So you can annul the vow for her until it gets dark. That is the deadline when Shabbos is over, when it gets dark. So then you're not allowed to be made for the neder any longer. Now in this situation, if the neder is taking place right towards the end of Shabbos, so it can't possibly be that you're being made for the neder for the tzorech of Shabbos. And that's what the Gemara says, V'i amr l'tzorech HaShabbos in, shelo l'tzorech HaShabbos lo. If you're going to say that you're only allowed to annul the vow l'tzorech HaShabbos, but you're not allowed to do it if it's not l'tzorech HaShabbos, so why are we saying in this Mishnah that when it gets dark, so then you're not allowed to annul the vow? Even during the day you shouldn't be allowed to annul the vow in this case. Because it's not l'tzorech HaShabbos. You see clearly over here that you're allowed to annul the vow so long as it has not become dark, so long as it is still Shabbos, even though it's shelo l'tzorech HaShabbos. And so to that the Gemara says, Tanoihi, it's actually a machlokas Tanoim in this regard, whether Hafara needs to be l'tzorech HaShabbos. It says Hafaras Nedarim Kol Hayom. We said this on the previous Amud. The Hafaras Nedarim takes place the entire day, meaning the Tanakama holds like our Mishnah. The Tanakama of this brisa holds that you have until it gets dark. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon Amru. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda, and Rabbi Elazar, Rabbi Shimon, they say May Eis Leis. They say you have a full 24 hours to annul the vow. And so the Gemara now explains, L'man damar kol hayom in tfeilo, according to the one who says that you have that entire day, but once it gets dark, you no longer can do it. So that would be afilu shelo l'tzorech HaShabbos mefer. So according to that man damar, you could even annul the vow shelo l'tzorech HaShabbos, because the point is, there is not going to be an opportunity to annul the vow the next day. You don't have 24 hours. You only have until the end of Shabbos. If you want to annul the vow, it has to be done on Shabbos. And so therefore, even if it's shelo l'tzorech HaShabbos, you're allowed to be mefer. But lamando amar me'es le'es, but according to the one who says you have 24 hours, so really there will be an opportunity to annul this vow after Shabbos. So then if you're going to annul it on Shabbos, l'tzorech HaShabbos in, shelo l'tzorech HaShabbos lo. So if you're going to do it l'tzorech HaShabbos, that is okay. But if it is not l'tzorech HaShabbos, that will not be okay. And the Gemara continues, the Mishnah quoted above said, V'nishalin l'nedarim shehein l'tzorech HaShabbos. You're allowed to ask to undo a neder if there's a tzorech Shabbos, if there's a need for Shabbos. Iboy lahu, they had the following question. When we say you're allowed to ask to undo a neder if there's a tzorech Shabbos, is that only if there was no time to undo the neder before Shabbos? Or maybe even if there was time to do it before Shabbos, still, it's allowed to be done on Shabbos. And the Gemara says, Tashma, come in here the following proof. This dakiku le rabbonon livrei de Rav Zutra brei de Rav Zeira afilu b'nedarim shahaya lahem penayim iba'od yom. Because the rabbonon, they took care of the nedarim of the son of Rav Zutra brei de Rav Zeira, and they did so even for the nedarim where there was time to have taken care of it really before Shabbos. Still, they took care of it on Shabbos. So you see, it's mutter even if there was time to take care of it before Shabbos. And the Gemara continues, Savar Rav Yosef Lememar. Rav Yosef thought to say, Nishal and Nedarim b'Shabbos b'yochid mumcha, that when we say on Shabbos you're allowed to ask to undo a neder on Shabbos, there are two ways to undo a neder. One way is you go before an individual who is an expert, and the other way is you go in front of a panel of judges, even if they're hadyotos, even if they are not experts. So Rav Yosef thought you're really only allowed on Shabbos to go in front of a yochid mumcha, an individual who is an expert. So b'yochid mumcha in, b'shlosha hadyotos lo. If it's a yochid mumcha, it's okay. If it's just three regular people, a panel, that would be a problem. Why? Mishum de mischazi kedina, because that already looks like a court case, which you're not supposed to have on Shabbos. So Amar le Abaye, so Abaye said to him, to Rav Yosef, Kevan de Svira Lon, since we hold, Afilum Umad, that when it comes to undoing a neder, it can be done even if the judges are standing. It's not like a real court where they have to sit. And Afilu Bekrovim v'Afilu Belayla, can be done even with relatives, it can be done even at night. So therefore, Lo Mischazi Kedin. It doesn't seem like a real court case. This is not treated like an actual Bezdin, and therefore, even with Shlosha Hediotos, it would be mutter on Shabbos. And the Gemara continues, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Rabbi Abba says that Rav Huna says that Rav says, Halacha mefirin nedarim b'layla. The halacha is we're allowed to annul the vows even at night. And the Gemara says, V'hamas nisani, what's the chiddush of that? It's already taught in our Mishnah. It says, Nadra b'leile Shabbos. If she makes the neder on Friday night, we could undo the neder on Friday night. And so the Gemara says, Ela Ema, rather say what he really said, the Chiddush was, Halacha nishalin balayla. The halacha is you're even allowed to ask, let's say you go in front of the Chacham to undo the neder, to be matter the neder, even that can be done at night. And the Gemara continues, Amar le Rabbi Abba le Rav Huna, Amar Rav Hachi. Rabbi Abba said to Rav Huna, did Rav really say that? Amar le Ishtik. So he said to him, well, he was silent. In other words, he didn't say it, but when it was said in front of him, so he was silent, so it seems that he agrees that nishalim nedarim balayla. The Gemara says, Amar le, so he said back to him, Ishtik amrit, was it that he was silent in a way that showed that he agreed with that halacha? O shasiko amrit, or maybe he was drinking. The way the Mefarish understands was he was drinking at that time, that's why he was silent. Maybe his silence doesn't prove anything. And the Gemara continues to answer this question in terms of Rav's opinion. Amar Ravika Baravin. Ravika Baravin says, Is dakik le Rav le Rabba. Rav took care of a dissolution of a vow for Rav, and we'll continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Zayin Amud Beis.